doing tonight, and he'll introduce his team. So Alex Griswold.
So I'm the general evaluator for tonight's meeting, which means I'll be introducing our 3 evaluators, and they'll each come up and speak about, they'll give the evaluation for each one of the speeches. So the first evaluator that I would like to call up here, and then after that, I'll ask for a timer's report, grammarian report, evaluate the meeting in general, and then also we'll figure out who won best speaker as well as best evaluator and best kid talk. So the first evaluator that I'll call up here, evaluating Curry, is Tim Small.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and guests, especially Curry. Outstanding speech. I mean, seriously, fantasy football, I was like, where's he going with this? Because with the title, Are You Ready for Some? And I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't know. I didn't have a clue. So, it was, a whole bunch of things ran through my head. But anyway, so when he played the music, I was like, oh, right on point. Are you ready for some football? Because that was a great attention getter. Nobody in this room, I mean, even if you don't like football, you still heard that music. You've seen the commercials. So it's Monday Night Football, are you ready for some football with, Hank Williams Jr. running around, screaming and yelling. Well, not anymore, but he was. So, outstanding opening. The topic, I was wondering, fantasy football, how can you make that interesting? I mean, it was, pretty cool. I'm not into fantasy football, but you piqued my interest with this because I didn't have a clue fantasy football started back in the 60s. I really didn't. I thought this was a newfangled something 10 years ago. And so you gave a great history of fantasy football. And I like to use the rules, the rule of 3. You said fun, friends, and family, and fanatical. I use that quite often myself when I give a speech. I always tell you, hey, we're going to talk about these 3 things. Talk about those 3 things and tell you what 3 things we just talked about. And so you did a great job with that. Some of the things that I thought that maybe you could have improved on, you went very fast. And I think that you probably did rehearse that speech. Obviously you did, because you had to load the music and think, hey, I'm going to run out there with the football, and even though you had that god-ugly Carolina blue. But still, we're going to have football. I'm a Duke fan, okay? But you had that Carolina blue, and you're walking around with it, so you put a lot of thought and preparation into it. I thought that it did just probably a little bit more rehearsal with maybe recording yourself and, using the time, because actually ran out of time, and I think we missed out on the conclusion because you didn't get to that part where you're telling us what you told us and leave us with, something that sticks in our brain about fantasy football. But overall, you were so comfortable up here. You had good use of the stage. I thought at the beginning of the speech, you mainly stayed over here. But as you moved on and I felt you got a little bit more comfortable, you did come over and you gave this side of the room a little bit of that fantasy football fanatical, rah-rah, pump-you-up speech. And so it was an outstanding speech, and I look forward to hearing your speech number 3. So.